Hey Algebra 2 students, welcome back. Today we're looking at 3-12 transformations 2. So just a little review stuff here. So we kind of talked about what A does in our transformations. If our A is negative, it flips vertically. If our A is between 0 and 1, meaning it's a fraction less than 1 or a decimal less than 1, then we get a vertical compression. If A is greater than 1, we get a vertical stretch. On the inside of our function, x minus h, that represents our horizontal translation. We said if it's a minus, it goes to the right, and if it's a plus, it goes to the left, which is kind of odd and unique to this type of transformation idea. And then the outside, this k here, is our vertical translation, meaning up and down. So let's go over some examples in Alex. This is right from your assignment. I just wanted to go over some just so we're aware of what it's asking us to do and how to respond correctly. So the first one we're looking at, it says that we have two separate functions. So the first one says the graph of f of x is shown. Translate to get to the graph of f of x minus 5. Now, we're used to having our parabolas centered at the origin for the vertex and facing upward. We're not going to worry about that for now, but what we're going to be worried about is that it's saying translate to get the graph of f of x minus 5. So if this is the original graph f of x, minus 5 means we're going to go ahead and translate down 5, because we know that negative 5 or minus 5 represents our k, and that tells us that we're going to shift our graph down 5. And then for our graph of b, it says this is the graph of g of x. And it wants us to translate it to get the graph of g of x plus 3. Now remember, the inside part of this, well, it's the inside part of the function because it's in the parentheses. So the plus 3, again, remember, inside of our parentheses, plus actually goes to the left and minus goes to the right. So we're going to shift this right 3 units. And then let's go ahead and check. And we got it correct. So wherever our graph starts, just to make sure that we do it properly, addition and subtraction outside of our parentheses translates up and down. Addition inside of our parentheses goes left, and subtraction in our parentheses goes right. All right. Let's look at this one. It says below is the graph of the absolute value of x. Translate it to make the graph of absolute value of x minus 2 minus 1. Okay, so let's do this in 2 steps. So inside of our absolute value, we have minus 2. We're going to remind ourselves that minus inside of our function or our parentheses shifts to the right. And then the minus 1 outside tells us we're going to shift down 1 unit. So we move 2 to the right because of the inside, and then 1 down because of the outside. Go ahead and check that one. And that one is also correct. Let's move on to example 9. So I chose this one because there's funky stuff going on the outside of our parentheses with our multiplication. That would be our A. It would represent our A. So this one has a negative 2 in front of it and the plus 3 inside. So we can go ahead and do the plus 3 from the inside, and we're going to shift that over. It's not letting me translate it. Oh, here we go. So we're going to go 3 to the left. That's the plus 3 in the on the inside of our absolute value. Now the minus 2 outside, or the negative 2. So the negative says we're going to flip it over. So let's go ahead and do this. So it's going to flip over. That's the negative part of it. Oops. Is it not letting me go lower? Oh, I see what we're going to do. Okay, so rather than that, we're going to hit that one, which flips it over. Awesome. And then the A kind of represents our slope between our vertex and the next point. So if it's negative 2, if you notice right now, the slope between the vertex and that red dot is over there is -1 because it goes down 1 and right 1. Because our a is -2, we want it to go down 2 and right 1. So we're going to make sure that that point is now slope 2 from our vertex. And then we're going to check it. So be very careful that your slopes match up. Or, well, I shouldn't say slope, but technically our slope between the vertex and the next point matches up. Okay, so we're going to check that. Correct. Now let's move on to the last example. This is problem 12. So there's lots of things going on here. So it says below is the graph of y equals x squared. Transform it to make the graph of y equals 3 parentheses x plus 1 squared plus 4. All right, so our 3 is positive. We're not going to have to reflect it. Let's deal with that h, that x plus 1. So again, be very careful because the plus 1 inside of our parentheses actually moves it to the left 1 unit. And then the plus 4 outside of our parentheses moves it up 4. All right, so we know our vertex is in the correct place. Now we're going to stretch this. So remember we said our a is 3. So right now our slope between our vertex and the next point over is 1. We need to make sure that that becomes slope 3. So now notice between our vertex and the next red point over, we're going up 3 over 1, which reflects our a, 3. And go ahead and check. Okay, perfect. So just a little bit more practice of what we had done in the previous lesson with the transformations. Hopefully it wasn't too bad, and this time we just kind of added in a little bit more detail with the types of functions and the a values. All right, good job.